Hi, it's me, Kevin, from the internet.
Objective Charlie has been secured.
Okay, you know. So, the Battlefield 6 early access first weekend just finished. And with nearly 30 hours played in 3 days, I think it's fair to say that I had a good time on the battlefield. There are some issues though. Most of them I think can be fairly easily tweaked by DICE. Let's start with the good. I wanna really make a mention of the performance. Even on my system, which is about 5 or so years old now, with some tweaked settings, I was able to get a pretty consistent frame rate between 80 and 90 on a 2K resolution. And this is on a 64 player conquest mode. Performance is absolutely king, arguably more important than gameplay for me. If the performance isn't there, it doesn't really matter how excellent your gameplay is or how great your visuals are. Because if I'm running your game in 20 FPS, I'm literally better off watching a movie. And I think for a beta of a brand new game, especially a Battlefield game, getting this kind of performance is great. 80 to 90 feels snappy and fluid. I could probably squeeze out a fair bit more if I toned some more settings down and really got into tweaking more of the advanced options. But honestly, I've just been way too busy actually playing the game than deep delve into the settings all that much. It's refreshing to witness these days, given that there's games out there that have been in development for years that just become more and more unplayable over the years. Or even fully finished games that just seem to forget altogether that they're supposed to be games and not slideshows. Performance kinda leads nicely into the visuals, and they're good. Even with toned down settings they look great. And I'll be honest and say that I've not been blown away by them though. I think they look fine for a Battlefield title, just up to expectations for me. Not on the same level as certain maps in Battlefield 4. I remember being taken absolutely aback by Parasol Storm, for example. That water map that has the storm brewing and eventually raining havoc on the islands. You know, the one where they eventually found the Megalodon Easter egg. And I don't know if the Battlefield 6's visuals are just what has kind of become standard in the industry now, or if I'm cherry picking a specific Battlefield 4 map. Or maybe I'm just getting old and not as easily impressed anymore. Battlefield 4 did release a whole 12 years ago though. But anyway, to make my point, I think Battlefield 6's visuals are fine. They're not great and not terrible. Maybe it's just the maps that we've had the chance to play though, and more spectacular maps are still on the way. And speaking of maps, the maps are okay. And yeah, I'm gonna sound like a Debbie Downer over here. I think that the 3 maps that they've given us so far are just not all that impressive. They are serviceable, but I really hope that they're saving the stronger maps for later. I'll make a separate video about the maps so I can go further in depth than this, my first impressions. So then, what is the most important thing in a Battlefield game? A shooter. It's to shoot enemies, right? Wrong. It's to revive your downed teammates. Any and all classes in this game, of which there are 4 this time around, can revive downed teammates. And I don't know why so many people seem to be allergic to walking up to a teammate and pressing E to get them back on their feet. But guys, these are not COVID times anymore. You don't have to social distance anymore and you can give a guy a hand. It's got little to do with the game itself, but this being a first impressions, my thoughts and whatnot, I just need to get this off my chest. Please don't be that guy who is trying to snipe somebody 300 meters away when I'm downed on the ground, with you literally stepping on top of me. Please, man. I assume many people just don't realize this yet, and give you the benefit of the doubt for now. But it was frustrating at times, I can't lie. The resing itself works fine, and with every class being able to do it, albeit at a slower pace than the support class, who is now also the part-time medic, you can drag people away from danger as you're reviving them too, which makes for some really cool moments. Alright, so let's talk guns. They feel fine for the most part. Standouts are the shotgun, which will destroy anything in the CQB fight. Even when I was using an MP7, I found myself losing to shotgun users because I just wasn't able to put out damage fast enough. That said, using the shotgun is tons of fun. It was the first gun I got to max level and I ended up combining it with the smoke grenades and just rushing people through the smoke. Loads of fun. And I don't even think the shotty is actually overpowered like many people online have been saying. I just think the other guns could do with a slight buff. Both the DMRs that they gave you feel bad. The time to kill is too slow, then the recoil on them is too much. The sniper is okay, although it feels a bit inconsistent. Sometimes it will kill somebody in the chest and sometimes it will not. Sometimes you will shoot a guy in the head and get a headshot and sometimes you will not. Might have to do with the netcode that felt a little shaky at times, with dying behind walls and such, but nothing major in my opinion. Other than these, I really have no strong feelings about any of the guns at the moment, but I do have some about the explosives. Starting with grenades. They feel bad. They carry no weight whatsoever, and the moment you hit G, they fly out like a particle of light from the sun. They explode with very inconsistent damage, just like the C4. The C4 will actually make you feel like you're roleplaying a prime Stephen Curry. The arc and distance on them is crazy, like those 3-pointers. They just fly out, and sometimes they'll do the damage that you expect, and sometimes they won't. I can see that they're trying to tone down the explosive spam, and for the most part I think that's a good thing. RPGs also do less damage to infantry, for example. But the inconsistent nature of them makes them more frustrating to use than anything else. Gameplay and movement is good for the most part. I enjoyed roaming around the maps. I do think the movement is a tad too fast, or maybe I'm just getting old. There is a slide mechanic that feels very much akin to Call of Duty to me. At least you can't really spam it, as there is a short cooldown of sorts after using it. But I think it can do with the slide toning down, because I felt at times that sliding even gave me a slight acceleration boost. The movement itself doesn't really feel very weighted or tactical in that sense. I think they kinda moved away from that since the Battlefield 2 days, where Battlefield 3 and 4 already were much faster. And honestly I miss that. I miss the slower movement where my equipment actually felt like it exists. I shouldn't be able to slide and jump like a rabid cat while carrying 2 guns, a backpack loaded with tactical gadgets, 6 RPGs and so on. But then again, maybe I'm just getting old and I struggle to keep up with the zoomers. I couldn't help but think that I was continuously reminded of Call of Duty though. And I'm not saying it's bad, just that I prefer a more grounded, less floaty feeling to my tactical shooters. Another big issue that I have with the game in its current state should be something relatively easy for DICE to tweak. It's the spotting. There is auto spotting in this game that just makes enemies light up with an orange Dorito above their head as soon as you look in their general direction. You don't even have to press Q anymore. It's way overdone, and I think most of the time I find myself just shooting towards the orange Doritos instead of actually visually confirming an enemy. Spotting is fine, but I think the auto spotting severely needs to be toned down, or removed altogether, or maybe just reserved for the recon class. Speaking of recons, the sniper scope glint. It's insane. Loads of memes have already been made. I was messing around with the sniper scopes to figure out which scopes have the glint and which don't, because the game doesn't tell you. So I set myself up on an elevated position, scoped in for a second, and saw half the lobby light up as sniper glints all aiming at me. Tanks also have a field day against snipers because you can just literally shoot from long range at the lights. The scope glint is gimmicky in my opinion. It always has been in Battlefield titles, but perhaps a necessary evil. For Battlefield 6 however, they feel massively overdone, and Liberation Peak, the only big map, frequently turns into a light show. Suppression has always been a staple of the Battlefield franchise, but seems to be absolutely missing in this iteration. Although I do seem to get points for supposedly suppressing enemies, there is no noticeable effect to actually being suppressed by enemy fire. I have not experienced a single moment in my 30 hours of play where I could tell I was being suppressed anyway. So all of this leads me to my biggest pain point and issue with this beta. I don't know if this is confirmed to still be on the way for the full game or not, but it's the lack of a server browser. Not having one just feels like such a step back. In this economy, we need a server browser so I can queue up for games, modes and maps that I actually like. I'm hopeful it will return, but I have no clue honestly if it will. Feel free to drop a comment if you know more. And I think that's about all I have to say about the game for now. I realize this maybe sounds a bit like a negative video, but I actually think this game played great and has a lot of potential. I'm just not sold on certain aspects yet, and I think there's plenty of tweaks to be made by DICE. So I'm just doing my part and providing feedback for an early access test. Thanks for watching, and make sure you join our Discord and check out my live streams. Links are in the description. Love you long time. And that was a great spawn. That was really good. Look at those guys.